I was chatting with a awesome, kick-ass and really interesting Lithuanian nature scientist, and he said, you know, Marielle, the condition of our forests are in decline in terms of biodiversity and habitats. And I was really shocked because I was like, but we have loads of forests, and how can this be? And then I started to read the Red Book and read like species after species. And I also started to read information on the Gyurus Beatus website. I would advise anybody to go there who's interested in forest protection. Hello, Lithuanians. So I would like to read out my open letter to Ingurida Šimaņytė. I want to do this because I would like to give people context as to why I talk about the forests in Lithuania. Before I read out the letter, I need to explain why I wrote the letter. So in mid-August, I read that the Ministry of the Environment of Lithuania wanted to increase deforestation in our country. And this was on top of horrible forest schemes that were already introduced. Those schemes removed the protection status so that they could cut down protected forests. So I felt really, really sad and depressed about our forests, and I was sitting out in the garden. I live outside Vilnius, and I was in my hammock, and I know this is going to sound stupid and crazy, but I was crying. And my partner Edgaras came over and said, Marielle, stop crying and start writing. So initially I wrote a letter to Ingurida Šimaņytė and I emailed it to her. And then I thought, okay, I'll send it to LRT. I really didn't expect them to publish it, but they did. So here it is. 7 years ago, when I arrived in Lithuania as a tourist from Ireland, I fell head over heels in love with this country's nature. It amazed me that I could explore vast, mature forests and swim in countless woodland lakes. This feeling of freedom in nature was totally new for me. I made Lithuania my home. I had the great pleasure of working on the publication of the Red Book of Lithuania, Animal, Plants and Fungi, and Invasive and Alien Species in Lithuania. These publications have deepened my exploration of Lithuania's flora and fauna. In Ireland, the vast majority of our countryside is privately owned and inaccessible to the public. Furthermore, we have very little mature forests. By the end of the 19th century, Ireland's forest cover had been reduced from what was once 80% to about 1%. Today, we have about 11%, the majority of which consists of trees less than 30 years old. My Lithuanian partner and I live in the forest outside Vilnius. I'm so pleased to share my home and the beautiful nature of this country with my family and friends from Ireland. They love it here and are so impressed by the quality of life that we have. In Ireland, you'd pay a huge sum of money to walk out of your back door and into mature, accessible forests. I was shocked when I read that the Lithuanian Ministry of the Environment is going against international scientific consensus on sustainable forest management, as well as the European Green Deal, by submitting a government resolution that would allow the cutting of 2.67% of our mature forests over the next 5 years. Already, our natural habitats in Lithuania are deteriorating. We must reject the increased deforestation of mature forests from coming into law. In fact, we must decrease our current rate. The consensus within the international scientific community tells us that deforestation of mature forests destroys biodiversity and natural habitats. And furthermore, scientists tell us cutting and replanting is absolutely not a sustainable solution. Responding to the directions of the European Green Deal, the current rate should be gradually reduced. The world knows that natural habitats rich in biodiversity are not only beautiful places to live close to and spend our leisure time in, they are absolutely vital for our health and safety. And, as science shows, deforestation of older forests speeds up global warming. I appeal to you, Prime Minister Ingurida Šimaņytė, listen to the consensus from our Lithuanian and international scientific community. Do not sign this government resolution. Protect Lithuania's mature woodlands. Hey Lithuanians, I just want to say thank you to everybody for the support and the love on my video, my open letter to galėtumėte. I'm getting one comment. It's a really interesting comment, and thanks so much to people who are leaving this comment. And also, it's a comment I'm getting in person, you know, in the real world. The comment is, it's okay, we can cut them down because we can grow them back. So I just want to explain a little bit more about myself and my relationship with the forest here in Lithuania. So when I first moved to Lithuania, what the forest meant to me, okay? Beautiful trees, a lot of trees, wolves, because we don't have wolves in Ireland, and I still haven't seen a wolf, but I really, really want to see one. If any of you guys have seen one out there, leave a comment, okay? And tell me where I can find one. Wolves and moose as well. A couple of weeks ago I saw a moose, and you know what, guys? It's just incredible how big they are and how clumsy they look, but how, like, he saw me, the moose, or she, and she darted through loads of trees so elegantly. It was like amazing. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. I'll get back to my point. So yeah, when I first moved to Lithuania, the forests were for me a place like with a lot of trees, wolves, moose, and wild boar. And then I started working with Lithuanian scientists. I edited the Red Book of Lithuania, and I was chatting with a awesome, kick-ass and really interesting Lithuanian nature scientist. And he said, you know, Marielle, the condition of our forests are in decline in terms of biodiversity and habitats. And I was really shocked because I was like, but we have loads of forests, and how can this be? And then I started to read the Red Book and read like species after species. And I also started to read information on the Gyrus Betus website. I would advise anybody to go there who's interested in forest protection. It's a really great resource. And I understood the situation in our forests, and you know how our ecosystems and habitats and the quality of our forests have been in decline since 2010. Because, you know, when we talk about deforestation, what does it mean, right? It means clear cutting. That means taking out a huge chunk of the forest, destroying all the ecosystems and habitats there. But not only that, right? They're cutting mature forests. So these are trees from about 100 to 120 years old, and areas that hold habitats and ecosystems that are just starting to become stronger and to gain momentum, you know? So they're just cutting all that down and destroying it. The point is, guys, is that you can't replant ecosystems and habitats. And then you might ask yourself, well, what's so important about ecosystems and habitats? Okay, I think all the frogs and birds and bees are cute, so maybe some guys don't care. But actually, guys, if you want to think about it in a selfish way, ecosystems and habitats are important for our quality of life and our health and safety. Just one example is Lyme disease. I made a reel about that. You can go check that out. Ecosystems and habitats offer us services. They give us fresh air, clean water, they protect us against diseases. There's a whole host of services that our ecosystems and habitats provide us. So yeah, I hope I've explained that as best I can. Keep following, keep liking, keep sharing, and guys, as well, most importantly, keep talking about the forest, because our lawmakers, our politicians, they care about what we think and they care about what we know. And the more information we have, I think, the more we can protect. Habitats protect us, we must protect them, you know? Peace. I know this happened a few weeks ago, but it's so shocking and disgusting that it's worth repeating. Title in English: Activists who stood against logging equipment achieved their goal. Fellings in the Chamonix forest were declared illegal. Forest defenders began to gather in Chamonix forest, where they found out that trees were being cut down in protected area. It turned out that permits were issued for the plot, which falls into a valuable natural area protected by law, a habitat of importance for the EU community. So our state forestry service in Lithuania issued a permit to destroy a habitat of importance to the EU community. And it turns out that the owner of this forest, which is protected, is a Swedish timber company. Then 3 days later, it was reported that permission was also given for another habitat of EU importance to be destroyed just close by. The Ministry of the Environment of Lithuania and our government should be ashamed of themselves. But this is not an isolated incident. There's a culture of deforestation in Lithuania, and I would advise anybody who has time to read this report printed in Delphi. I'm just going to read out one very depressing and disgusting fact about forest management in Lithuania. This one. Oops. On the basis... Feck off. Sorry lads, hang on. On the basis of the forest schemes that have swept every single county in the last 5 years in Lithuania, the status of a large number of forests with higher protection, the third and second group, have been abolished. Hey Lithuanians, because of the amazing work of our non-governmental organisation as well as the Environmental Protection Committee, the Ministry of the Environment of Lithuania backed down from its proposal to increase deforestation in Lithuania. But our forests are still in danger for 2 reasons. According to our scientists, the current rate of deforestation in Lithuania is still too high. And 2, there is an election coming up. And I just want to put up a quotation from the Environmental Protection Committee in Seimas. There was a national agreement in Lithuania, and that agreement was to increase protection of our forests. But not all political parties have signed that agreement. Hey Lithuanians, amazing news today. I just want to read this for anybody who doesn't speak Lithuanian. The ministry backs down from the proposal to increase the rate of deforestation in Lithuania. And I just want to read the first paragraph. It goes something like this. Such a decision was made after taking into account the arguments of the Seimas Environmental Protection Committee, as well as a group of non-governmental organisations, Gyrų Species. I just want to thank Gyrų Species so much for fighting for our forests. It's just amazing. Thank you. Sup Lithuanians? Guys, I have a question. Maybe one of you beautiful, gorgeous, scrumptious Lithuanians can answer it for me. Let's just translate this into English for those folks who don't speak Lithuanian. So it says, our Environmental Protection Committee proposes not to increase deforestation rates in Lithuania. And down here it says, I just got to translate, there was a national agreement, and that national agreement was to increase protection of our forests. But not all political parties have signed this agreement, or some have refused to sign it. And that's a quote from the Environmental Protection Committee chairwoman. So lads, does anybody know who these political parties are